Christine Abizaid. Director Abizaid is the director of the National Counterterrorism Center. With 14 years of national security experience, she is the 8th Senate-confirmed director and the first woman to lead the United States counterterrorism enterprise. Formerly, she served as Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Central Asia, and as Senior Intelligence Analyst for the Defense Intelligence Agency. Director Abizaid, thank you for appearing before this committee. You're now recognized for your opening comments.
Well, thank you very much, Chairman Peters, Ranking Member Portman, and the distinguished members of this committee. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today to discuss the global counterterrorism environment and to highlight the tireless work of the NCTC's professionals and the work they do to protect the homeland. As noted in my statement for the record, 20 years after 9/11, the United States faces a changed threat from foreign terrorist organizations. The threat today is less acute to the homeland, but it continues to become more ideologically diffuse and geographically diverse. Even as the United States has ended its longest war in Afghanistan and takes on a broader array of national security priorities, NCTC remains committed to our mission to deter and disrupt terrorist efforts to harm the United States, both at home and abroad. The United States continues to have success in degrading foreign terrorist operations, including their threat to the homeland, though these terrorists have proven adaptive over years of CT pressure. Turning first to the international counterterrorism landscape. The 26 August suicide bombing by ISIS Khorasan at the international airport in Kabul, which tragically killed 13 U.S. service members and scores of Afghans, illustrates that foreign terrorist groups continue to place a premium on attacks against the United States. ISIS core in Iraq and Syria, in addition to maintaining a strategic interest in conducting attacks in the West, remains committed to its long-term goal of establishing an Islamic Caliphate and is fomenting sectarian discord, eroding confidence in governments, and exploiting security gaps to create conditions favorable for seizing territory again after significant losses several years ago. For its part, Al-Qaeda has changed significantly since 9/11. The group and its affiliates and allies have repeatedly demonstrated their ability to adapt to changing CT environments and geopolitical realities. Part of this adaptation has included shifting from its core leadership structure in the Afghanistan-Pakistan region to a more geographically dispersed network of affiliates and veteran leaders across Africa, the Middle East, and South Asia. And while years of CT pressure has degraded the Al-Qaeda network, the group and its affiliates remain intent on using individuals with access to the United States to conduct attacks. This was most recently demonstrated by Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula and their probable approval of a 2019 attack in Pensacola, Florida, where a Saudi Air Force officer killed 3 and wounded 8 U.S. service members. Now, here in the United States, the primary threat in the homeland comes from individuals inspired to violence, either by foreign terrorist groups or other domestic grievances and ideologies. U.S.-based homegrown violent extremists, HVEs, who are largely inspired by Al-Qaeda or ISIS, will likely continue to attempt attacks because their personal and ideological grievances, their attraction to foreign terrorist messaging, and their access to weapons and targets. HVEs, they mobilize without specific direction from foreign terrorists, and they act independently and often with few associates, which makes detection and disruption very difficult. Separately, one of the other most pressing threats to the homeland comes from domestic violent extremists, DVEs, and in particular, racially or ethnically motivated violent extremists and militia violent extremists, who often mobilize to violence independent from direction of a formal or centralized organization. Since 2015, the threat from these individuals has increased, and since 2018, we saw DVEs pose the most lethal terrorist threat inside the homeland. We assess that DVEs will continue to pose a heightened threat for years to come, in part because many of the factors that underpin their motivations are likely to endure: social polarization, negative perceptions about immigration, conspiracy theories promoting violence, distrust of government institutions, and biases against minority groups will likely drive some DVEs to conduct attacks this year. We also remain vigilant against Iran and its agents and proxies, principally Lebanese Hezbollah, and their intent in retaliating in the United States for the January 2020 killing of former IRGC Quds Force Commander Qasem Soleimani. The threat from Iran also faces us overseas, and particularly in Iraq, where Iraqi Shia militant groups pose the most immediate threat to U.S. interests. These militants have conducted an increasing number of indirect fire and unmanned aerial systems attacks against U.S. facilities in the past several months, with the objective of expelling U.S. forces from the country. Now, looking ahead, we will continue to face a diverse range of threats that will play out against the backdrop of complex global trends, including ongoing effects of COVID-19 pandemic, great power competition, and the disruptive effects of a changing climate and rapidly evolving technology. More than 15 years after its establishment, the National Counterterrorism Center is uniquely positioned to lead in this environment, working alongside our partners across the intelligence community and, importantly, the FBI and DHS as we move into the next phase of our counterterrorism fight. We will continue to discover, analyze, and warn about ongoing and future threats as part of a broader set of foreign policy challenges that the United States will face in the 21st century. And we will continue to find innovative ways to synthesize, manage, and exploit our unique access to terrorism data from across a spectrum of sources to identify threats that might otherwise go unnoticed. We mark the 20th anniversary of 9/11, recognizing the remarkable CT successes of the last 2 decades, and with gratitude, deep gratitude, to the military, law enforcement, diplomatic, and intelligence professionals who made these successes possible. Working together, we have succeeded in preventing another major 9/11-style attack in the homeland. But we must not be complacent. NCTC and the larger intelligence community and homeland security infrastructure must continue to collaborate and maintain the ability to innovate in an era of rapid technological change and stay ahead of the next evolution of the terrorist threat. Thank you again for the opportunity to be here today. I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you.